So I welcome the motion. I think it's an important time to recommit and make it clear how important neutrality is and how well it has served Ireland. I would echo that I do believe there is a strong constitutional mandate still there already, and it comes from Article 29, the devotion to the ideal of peace, the recognised principles of international law, and the peaceful settlement of international disputes by arbitration or by judicial determination. Again, those were the signals very early, and we have that history of constitutional determination as well in relation to the various treaties we've had. It's made it very clear that military neutrality, in fact neutrality has been a core understanding of the Irish public's identity of ourselves consistently throughout, and indeed there's a reason why it was the area where the public sought and received and needed to receive reassurance in relation to the various treaties we have had. But what's important, I think, about those principles, and again we heard a lot about where Ireland was in World War II and so forth, but let's look to just after World War II and the UN Charter. The UN Charter coming after a point of, not at a peaceful moment, but coming after a history of war, which said its commitment was to free future generations from the scourge of war, to recognise war in itself as a terrible and destructive force in the world, and to commit to the idea of international human rights law and equal rights of all nations, small and large. These were radical ideas because we had come after centuries and indeed millennia when it had been a matter of big powers, of patronage of other nations, of colonialism in some cases, and the idea where basically might determines in terms of where power is, and all nations were in that big power politics. We moved to this idea of an international politics of principle. And that was an incredible leap forward. And Ireland has been in that world of an international politics of principle, where all nations, not just if they're your neighbours, not just if you have a trading relationship with them, but all nations speak together in respect of the work of peace. That has been fundamental, and Ireland has been within that space because it is a neutral country, because it is trusted to be acting on those principles of international law, not on the matters of interests, not on the matter of alliances or friends or what our friends would like to achieve in order to serve other goals. But when it comes to these crucial issues that Ireland has worked and spoken about peace and about conflict from the principle of international law and indeed multilateralism. And that's why I would be very strongly critical of any move away from the triple lock, or any idea that we do a parallel thing where we decide who we want to support or not based on whether we think it should happen. If we are we have to secure the triple lock. And if we do want reform, and there is a case for the removal of the veto from all Security Council members, because they are nations which are, them to be set at a tier above in terms of the UN General Assembly being able to make those decisions, there is a case for that. But we need to make that in the multilateral international space and not undermine our credibility by trying to step outside that. I think that that's really crucial. And I think one of the most crucial lines in this motion is the fact that Ireland's membership of any military alliance would immediately diminish and undermine our international reputation as an independent and impartial nation state. Ireland, we talked about our soft power. The soft power isn't just because we're lovely to chat to. The soft power is that credibility built up over years. And you can't be having soft power on the one side and then going, I want to hang out with these defence ministers from NATO on the other side. You are undermining your credibility when you do that. And you need to be clear, in terms of our soft power, it is very effective in the world. When Ireland, Frank Aiken, signed the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty as the first country to do so, bear in mind, we've heard a lot of, you need to build defence, to build security, to build peace. Actually, the greatest defence, and yes, of course we need to resource, in particular, the workers in our armed forces, so they have proper pay and conditions. But one of the great defences we have is, in fact, disarmament. Because bear in mind, when Frank Aiken signed that was at a time when the arms race was taking off. And there was the idea every country needs a nuclear weapon in order to preserve itself. And it was then the move to, I think others have had some more leeway. It was, in this regard, the move away from that to say, actually, disarmament is what builds peace. The cluster munition ban, similarly, a moment of real pride for Ireland, which has saved lives. The humanitarian access that Ireland has had. And again, when we talk about recruitment and retention in the Navy, I would highlight one moment, which is the highest point of membership of the Navy we had was when Ireland was saving 8,000 people a year in the Mediterranean, which sadly we moved away from. And that was a quote from the Minister of Defence at the time: "We have moved from a humanitarian to a security focus." And this is why we have something special, we have something precious, and we cannot be complacent about it, and we cannot think that you can chip away at neutrality or de facto delete it and then still be able to hold that space. Let's be proud of our neutrality. I welcome the motion, and I commend Senator Clonan for bringing it. And again, I believe Ireland being neutral makes us strong.
Excellent.